Hey there, welcome to Ben's Eco Adventure. After 3 years of being on sale in the US, the Nissan Ariya is finally getting over-the-air software updates. And there's 2 of them. Let's talk about it. For those who haven't seen my video, The 5 Things I Hate About the Nissan Ariya, the main focus of that video was actually mostly the software. The software, while it isn't completely terrible, the car doesn't usually crash or have any major faults. It just isn't very well thought out. It wasn't really focused for EV drivers the way software should be and can be with other cars. I'm really glad to see that Nissan, in spite of its troubles right now, is not abandoning the Ariya, and they are continuing to improve things as time goes on, especially for existing owners. So I read online that some people had started to see a software update pop up on the infotainment, and I hadn't seen anything pop up, but I did go in and manually check, and sure enough, it said there was a software update. So I went ahead and installed it. Now, the first update that I got took about 15 minutes or so, and basically what you do is you tell it to install the software, you turn the car off, and you just have to let it sit. You can't drive the car for the time while it's doing the updates. When the software update popped up, it actually included a few release notes, not a ton of information, but I'll read those off to you here real quickly. The update included the following changes. It says enhancements to the intelligent route planner, a battery heater widget, which has been added for easy access, additional voice recognition commands for head-up display and climate control. It can activate Alexa simply by saying Alexa. I apologize if I just did that at your house. It will allow each profile to set up and use their own unique Amazon Alexa account. And finally, it improved the stability of the navigation system. For me, one of the big things I noticed initially with old software was the route planner, at least in the car, was terrible. And this supposedly improved it. Now, what I did see is that when you are calculating a destination, it will now give you the estimated state of charge upon arrival. And I have tried that out. It works well. It is appropriately pessimistic. So I was coming back from hiking a week ago and I tried it out and it was fairly low. And it said I would get back to my house with about 3% battery, and I actually made it back with 9% battery. So that's probably a good thing. You don't want to overpromise and underdeliver, especially when it comes to range. However, we'll take a look here inside the car in a moment, but my complaints about the original navigation and route planning are still present. It is still routing you to charging stations that no longer exist and ones that haven't existed for many years. The other major update it did, at least for me, was it added a battery heater widget. Now, previously, if you wanted to activate the battery heater, you had to go in 3 menus deep. And oftentimes this is something you might want to do while you're driving if you're on your way to a charging station. And that really isn't safe to be going in the menus and trying to dig in and find that function. So the fact that they added it right up front is really nice and really good. Now, the one thing we don't know is whether or not they've improved the functionality of the heater. Previously, I have tested during the winter with Car Scanner and seen when the battery heater would activate and when it wouldn't. And it didn't seem really well calibrated. Basically, if the battery was anywhere above freezing temperatures, so it could still be just slightly above freezing, it would not activate the battery heater. And that meant if you went to a fast charging station, you are going to see nowhere near your full charging rate. And I'm hoping that this update will also improve the functionality of the heater itself and not just adding the shortcut. But since we're in the middle of summer right now, I can't test that. Make sure you're subscribed because I am going to test that once it gets cold again. As for the other updates, most of them centered around Amazon Alexa, and I don't use that. I'm not sure really what the purpose of having that in your car is. If you use that in your car, let me know what you do, because I'm just not sure why we need it in our vehicles, but let me know. So they said they improved the navigation route planning. So we'll test that out here in real time. I currently have 72% stated charge, so not a full battery, but Mammoth Cave is far enough that even if the car was full, I would need to charge anyway. So it always pops up with this. It says route calculations complete. And it takes a couple minutes for it to, well, maybe not a couple minutes, but 30 seconds or so for it to figure out which places it wants to stop. Okay, so it's taking us to Flow, Cincinnati, Vine Street, and Charge Point, Louisville. So I don't know if we can look at these here, but there is no Flow charging station in Cincinnati on Vine Street. I'm just checking the ChargePoint app to look in Cincinnati. There is probably a Flow charging station on Vine Street, but I believe it's a level 2 station. So this car is getting confused about level 2 versus DC fast charging. That is absurd. That's ridiculous. So again, unfortunately, the in-dash system is still terrible. As mentioned earlier, I added a battery heater widget to the main screen. So now on here, you can just go in, activate it, and that's a lot easier than going in the settings 3 levels deep in the menu. Like to see that. This won't appear right away, so if you do need to add it to your car, you'll want to go to the little plus sign here, and you have to scroll over, and there's battery heater and also Alexa. I think that was one of the other things that it added. The last thing I'll say as far as the route planner goes is if you are going to use it, the My Nissan app for your phone is actually really good. Surprisingly, as bad as the route planner is in the car, the app works perfectly and it finds good charging stations and routes you an appropriate length and works really well. And the best thing is you can actually send the directions from the app to the car so you don't have to futz with the screen. I find it easier to use the phone, so at least that works well. And finally, the second update package that we got is probably the most meaningful, and that is the car now has wireless Android Auto, which is great, and I use that all the time on our Bolt EUV. The wireless Android Auto package was a lot quicker to install. It showed up maybe about a week after the initial over-the-air update. I had checked for updates a couple times in the interim and it said there were no updates. So I'm not sure exactly how they roll updates out to each car. I have to imagine that they don't push them all out at once just in case something goes wrong and the car has to be taken to the dealer. They have a lot fewer cars to deal with when something goes sideways. But anyway, the Android Auto works great. It seems to connect well. It takes a moment, maybe 20 seconds or so when you start up the car, but I think that's typical amongst most cars that I've used. The one thing I'll note though is the Ariya does have a wireless charger, and if you have your phone on the wireless charger and you're using Android Auto and you're doing things like streaming music and running the navigation, you might find that your phone actually gets pretty hot. So if you're on a long trip, especially during the summer, I'd still recommend that you plug the car in with a cord because the corded charging doesn't generate nearly as much heat as using wireless charging does. The last thing I'll say is I'm really hoping that this is not just a one-time thing and that we will continue to see more updates for the Ariya. We just saw the new Nissan Leaf be revealed, and that has an entirely new software program, especially on the higher trims, that looks much improved. While I don't think we're going to get that on existing Arias, probably because the hardware is not powerful enough to support it, I would like them to continue to improve our software stack, at least add little things here and there, fix little bugs. Like I still am annoyed about the HVAC always going into recirculate mode in the summertime. It shouldn't do that. It's really annoying and it ignores your setting in the menu, but unfortunately that's something we're gonna have to live with for the time being. Regular reminder, if you're not already subscribed to Ben's Eco Adventure, make sure you hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. It really does help out. Thanks for watching.